Well, good morning. Yes, we've got some major breaking news regarding Project Marvel and a new downtown arena. Last night, the Spurs sent a letter to the mayor and city manager committing to contribute over $1 billion to the project. This will ease a lot of doubts about the willingness of the Spurs to pay their fair share. The city expressed growing frustrations in recent days about the lack of information regarding the cost of the project and who would pay for what. The city, the county, a state visitor tax, and the Spurs investment are all necessary if the project is to become a reality. In the letter, the Spurs laid out in detail what they are willing to chip in. In fact, they said that their investors and the Spurs willing to put up $500 million in guaranteed coverage of cost overruns for the new arena, another $500 million in adjacent downtown development, and $60 million in additional community incentives. Furthermore, they're going to allocate 30% of the arena and district construction contracts to locally owned San Antonio companies and underwrite a via park and ride for up to 2,000 single game primary ticket buyers. Also, they're going to provide 500 tickets for every Spurs home game at $25 or less and underwrite a new policy that will target early childhood education and child care challenges in the community, which is a priority of the new mayor. And while this is the first time we've seen the Spurs commit to an actual number, it does coincide with what owner Peter J. Holt expressed to me earlier this year. It was a very candid interview about the Spurs portion of the bill. To be clear, you guys are prepared to put up hundreds of millions of dollars to make this happen.
Absolutely, yeah. Building a space where that can continue to thrive, that San Antonio Spurs fans and concert goers and people of the community can be really proud of, hey, a space that belongs to us, that's for us, that the public owns and the Spurs make great. Then I think that's what we're going to do. And the Spurs are absolutely willing to invest hundreds of millions of dollars as part of the partnership to ensure that's successful.
We now know that is $1 billion. And by chance, the City Council just so happens to have a special session called for later today in chambers with only one item on the agenda. And that reads an update on Spurs Arena discussion. Again, that's to happen at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Again, the Spurs telling the mayor this morning they are willing to put up $1 billion to help pay for Project Marvel and a new arena. Keep it right here on News 4 and news4sa.com for the very latest.
Wow, $1 billion. Today's announcement is a big step in ending a lot of the speculation that has existed since Project Marvel was first announced last year. The big questions people had was just how much money was going to be spent by each of the three parties involved, the city, the county, and the Spurs. We now know at least some of the equation. News 4 San Antonio's Taylor Whartonby is live downtown with more on this. Hi, Taylor.
Good morning. News of the financial specifics surrounding the Project Marvel deal started to get out earlier this week. Just yesterday, we told you about how the Spurs want the city to kick in $500 million from the recently established Project Finance Zone that allows the city to spend state hotel occupancy taxes to fund certain projects, in this case, the new Spurs Arena. Over the course of the last year, people have been wanting specifics. How much will the city pay? How much will the Spurs pay? And how much Bexar County will put in? Bexar County Judge Peter Sakai said the question of whether the county will use its venue tax to fund a new stadium would be left up to the voters to decide. Just yesterday, we spoke with San Antonio City Councilman Mark White, who said it was time for certain details to be known so that voters can make an informed decision.
It's time now, though, that the details are finalized, that we get the county, the city, and the Spurs all on the same page, and then we can go to the citizens and say, here is what we're talking about, right? Here's how it's going to be paid for in a very transparent manner.
And we're likely to find out more information about that deal here today at City Hall at 1 p.m. during that special City Council meeting. Reporting live outside City Hall, I'm Taylor Whartonby, News 4 San Antonio.
Hi, Taylor. Before I let you go, Mark White sounded frustrated. Do you feel as if he is the only council person who wants this Project Marvel to be pushed through?
Yeah, like you said, he was frustrated. I will say that during this interview that we had with him yesterday, he said the timing, it was time for the public to know more. Just because the election is coming up in November, people need to have informed information on whether or not they want to vote on something like this. So I think him and along with other council members, are feeling much happier today, knowing that we got more information. And again, we're going to learn more even today at 1 p.m. here at City Hall.
All right, thank you, Taylor, for that. We also had the chance to speak to Mayor Gina Jones last night about Project Marvel. She talked about how just recently the city started to get the deal together with the Spurs and how the process worked. She sat down with News 4 San Antonio's Destiny Fuller and had this to say.
This is exactly why I called a public meeting for this. Over the weekend, we got the first draft of what's called a community benefits agreement, right? So there's two things that are important here when we talk, I'm talking specifically about the Spurs Arena, not overall Project Marvel, but specifically the Spurs Arena, which is what is the term sheet? And the term sheet is kind of who's putting in what and how is that getting paid, right? What's the basis for that? That's one piece of it. The other piece, to your point, that I've been very clear about, it's not just how we pay for it, is how does the community benefit, right? So the community benefits agreement, I wanted to make sure that's tight because we only get one shot at this. We don't do this every day. We've got to make sure that this is as tight as it can be in light of our community, right? And so we got the first offer for a community benefit agreement, aspects of it over the weekend. I talked with the city team and I said, you know what, we need to have a public discussion on this, which is why I called for the meeting. We'll have that on Friday at 1 p.m. And this is going to lay flat. Hey, this is where we're at. This is the timeline. This is what it may look like moving forward. Give us your feedback. Those are the key elements of it, right? We just want to make sure, certainly the council, but also the public is clear about what we know, what we don't know, and a potential way moving forward.
Again, today's City Council meeting is set for 1 p.m. Reporter Taylor Whartonby is going to be at today's meeting. She'll bring us details today at noon again. Project Marvel is more than just a Spurs arena. Here's a reminder of what else is involved. In addition to the new arena, the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center will be expanded with the new addition potentially including a new convention center hotel. A land bridge over Interstate 37 is planned to connect the east side to downtown and improve accessibility. The Alamo Dome will be upgraded as part of the project, and the federal courthouse will be renovated into a live events venue. Now, even though there has been months of speculation about the specifics of when it comes to the Project Marvel, the Spurs are on record saying that they are fully committed to this project. Just last month, Sports Director Don Harris sat down with Spurs Chairman Peter J. Holt. He talked about making sure the general public will have enough information to make a decision when they go to the polls.
The fans and San Antonio residents and Bexar County residents have a wonderful opportunity to participate in this process by voting. And so whatever may have happened over the last 18 months, in my opinion, there's going to be very clear ballot language with a bunch of supporting facts that voters can decide on.
Project Marvel and the new Spurs Arena won't get done if you don't want it to in November. You'll have to get your say at that ballot box. On the city side of things, voters will likely be asked to approve an infrastructure bond of up to $250 million. It would cover the first 5 years of the infrastructure developments downtown for Project Marvel, covering things like traffic signals, highway ramps, and walkways. On the county side, you'll likely be asked to approve an increase to the venue tax, also known as a tourist tax. Part of the money raised by the increase would go to help with improvements to the Frost Bank Center and the Freeman Coliseum on the east side. The other portion would go to fund a new Spurs Arena. Important to note here, you will not directly see a Spurs Arena on the ballot. Now, the city of San Antonio was seeking public input for Project Marvel. A community planning workshop was held in District 2 on July 19th. Participants were able to get answers to questions they have about the project, as well as share ideas about what they'd like to see if the project moves forward. Organizers say information gathered will be shared with full council to help decide the future of Project Marvel.
Because we want to hear their concerns. We want to build a wonderful project that's an inclusive project for everyone. We want to make sure that it's something that the community wants to go to, and we're building it for the community and not building it for tourists.
The workshops are helping the city provide accurate information and answer questions. Again, some of the things that you should consider when thinking about Project Marvel. Its potential growth for the downtown area, downtown revitalization and economic growth. Right now, City Council has approved the new funding plan for the project, which includes the PFC. Now, the city is working again on a bond proposal for infrastructure improvements, which could go before the voters in November. And the city is also considering a bond for affordable housing. Of course, we will keep you covered on this with more coverage throughout the morning right here on News 4 San Antonio. Something new could be coming to